Here I go, here I go, here I go, here I go, there I go. All right, let's see here. We are starting up our classes again, y'all. We're talking about the Song of Solomon. Here I go, here I go, here I go, here I go, there I go. That's pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. All right, y'all. Hello, everybody. Sirwalterj, the Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm here. It is the weekend edition. Baby, how y'all is? Come on in. The water is fine. It's a Sunday night teaching, y'all. At the time of this recording is about 10:36 in the p.m. on Central Standard Time here in the Midwest, Chicago to the Illinois. I want to talk about a subject that I did deal with before last summer. My series called Romance in the Park. I do these Romance in the Park series during the summer months of Chicago, whenever summer finally gets here. We could tease with some 70-degree weather, 80-degree weather, and then it goes back down to cold and sometimes snow and rainy. Okay, when it's like fully summer, then I'm back out there, y'all, in the park. I call it Sirwalterj. If you go on the YouTube channel, and you'll see my, just type in Romance in the Park with Sirwalterj Jones. I talked about the Song of Solomon while I sat on the bench in detail, in depth, all right? And that was before I wrote this book about the 4 women that men desire. This was just last summer. I had not wrote one word. And it was that show, that walk in the park, that had me to think about really go ahead and finally writing a book on the subject matter. So what I'm going to do today is something that I haven't done. I'm going to read to you from my page 7, chapter 7, called The Resolve, all right, from the Song of Solomon that I wrote about. But Song of Solomon, or Song of Songs, it's a canticle, all right? They're pretty much songs, and you'll see the poetry books in the scriptures in the Bible in the middle of the book, all right? We got Job and, of course, the Ecclesiastes, and we got Song of Solomon. And the author of these books are, believe it or not, kind of unknown. We like to ascribe authors to books. A lot of times we don't really have the authority to do that because we don't really know who wrote some of these books, even though it may even have their names on them. For instance, people think that Paul wrote Hebrew. Well, we really don't know who wrote it. Ecclesiastes, we always say that this is the book of song, one of Solomon's book. Well, we really don't know who wrote Ecclesiastes. Actually, there's a teacher who they ascribed this to, Qoheleth. It was always difficult for me to say his name. Qoheleth, all right? So we don't really know. All right. Solomon, the authorship seems to go to him, and in some cases it do not go to him. As a matter of fact, I have some notes here that talks about the authorship. It says this is a Solomon's Song of Songs, more wonderful than others. But most experts say they doubt Solomon even wrote the book for a various of reasons. And I'll tell you in a minute here. Blessings to all of you who have come here. It's good to see all of you. Hey, Bernier. Good to see you. It says here, the first verse seems to act like a title added later by an editor compiling the songs, as editors did with many psalms. Understand? In Hebrew, the byline is phrased vaguely of Solomon. And that could mean it's by him or it's for him, perhaps for one of his weddings, or it's about him through although there's little mention of him afterwards. Some of the phrasing seems to come from hundreds of years after Solomon. And many Bible experts say this book is probably a collection of poetry and love songs used in wedding celebrations. And others say that a single writer wrote it, but perhaps a woman wrote it. That's because the starring female character in the song speaks 61 of the 116 verses, this starring woman, more than the starring male or the minor characters. All right. So many students of the Bible take this traditional approach arguing that Solomon did write the Song of Songs. Okay, many do take that approach. We don't know who it is, but I will say I put on here the literal opposed to the allegory versus the literal meaning. And many of you, when I posed this on the wall, there was some fights going on, whether this was talking about the literal Israel and God's love for the Israel or the love for the church, or it's just really about a man and a woman, and that's it. All right. And I'll tell you where I'm leaning on. For many Jews, the song was the symbol of God's love for Israel. And the man in the story is God. The woman is Israel. The bedroom is the land now called Israel. The kissing is God giving Israel the laws they have to follow. And the woman's confession of having black skin is Israel's confession of sin and worshiping idols. All right. Now that's what Jews believe. Hebrew Israelites and those who are Orthodox, maybe some of the Muslims believe that. OK, it is about Israel. But as you dig deeper into the study of various religions and Protestant and Catholic and Jew and Gentile, what have you, you'll see that different people, different cultures have a different meaning of the Bible, because I believe that you can make the Bible say whatever you want it to say. And for those who were Catholics, they leaned on Bernard of Clairvaux. Prior to the 1800s, you could not read the Song of Solomon. And if you did, you had to take it as allegory, as a relationship between God and man, or God and Israel. You had to take it that way. There was no other way, because it was such a fleshly book. It was too much to handle prior to 1800s. And then as we went further into the 19th and 20th century, you start seeing the teaching change up just a little bit. But John Wesley, he had a code for you to understand the meaning of Song of Solomon. And he did exactly what the Catholic priest did as well, to try to, again, focus you back on the spirituality and more of the allegory and not the literal. Now, some monks and other early Christian leaders who took the vow of chastity seemed uncommonly preoccupied with the Song of Songs, and the most explicit sexual book that's in the Bible today. And some might wonder if they read it for the same reason many today read the National Geographic. All right. So I think what's happening here is what's called replacement theology. And replacement theology is a very dangerous, very harmful theology, which a lot of Christians of my day began to use. Because what it says is that every time you saw the name Israel, you replaced it with the name church. The title Israel, the title church, okay? The people Israel, the people church. Or the Jews, the people of the Jews, replace it with the Gentiles. And when that theology came about, people didn't understand how harsh and unbiblical it is, and how dangerous it is, because to just go into the Old Testament and change who God was talking to, the people whom he was talking to, and replace them with Israel, is doing the distresses and harm to the psyche of man, because you can't do it. There's no way to properly do it without messing up. Because even in the Old Testament, it even tells you even about the dry bones, okay, of Ezekiel, the whole dry bone story, and the sinews coming back on the flesh and what have you. And people say, see, the dry bones, that's the church. No, when you keep reading, it says, the interpretation is, this is the whole house of Israel. All right. It's the 12 tribes of Israel. The Christians and Gentiles don't have tribes, 12 tribes. OK, so theology, replacement theology, is very dangerous, and it makes no sense. So the Song of Songs by John Wesley was this young woman mentioned in verse 1 talking about the church. Replacement, because with John Wesley is the church, but with the Catholic priests, or with Jews, this would be Israel. Okay, young man. The young man in verse 8 of chapter 1 is Jesus. Of course, it would be God with the Jews. Okay, the kisses in verse 2 is any unusual tokens of God's love. All right, that's Jesus' love or God's love. That black skin, she says, I'm black, but calmly. In verse 6, that's Israel, or represents the blackness represents the sin of Israel or the church. The breast, thy breast shall satisfy me all the days of my life. Verse 13, that's the church's intimate union with God, or the intimate union or relationship with Christ. And the bed of verse 16 represented where believers enjoy fellowship with God or with Christ. That's the breakdown of John Wesley, and it seems to go hand in hand with Bernard of Clairvaux. He further went on Solomon's 60-man bodyguard of chapter 3 and 7. It was a representation of angels and other God used to protect his church. He talked Solomon's chariot in verse 7 of chapter 3. The symbolic meaning is the word of Christ preached by ministers. It goes on and on and on. All right. And so I would just like to tell you something about this. If you go to a usual Bible, all right, this is my Bible. It is what okay. This is a study Bible. And I've said on a couple of occasions down through the times that just because it's in something is written out in a study Bible don't necessarily mean that it's sound because it's inside the Bible, and men begin to expound and use their concordance, their wisdom to expound on it, because I found errors in Matthew Henry. I found errors in Jameson and Fawcett, okay? I found errors in Dakes. I found them. Y'all says, well, who are you to find errors on scholars? You see, this is the problem. When we put our trust and total faith in man and lean on their understanding, we have to be careful that we don't oust the Holy Spirit out of our understanding, out of ourselves, okay, or the communion we have with the Holy Spirit. That relationship we have with the Holy Spirit helps fix some of the errors that some of these Bible scholars have made. Men have gone to these Bible colleges and schools and theological schools and what have you, and they've gotten so caught up in the study that Ecclesiastes talked about. So much study will make a man mad. All right. So you get caught up in a lot of this stuff and you begin to remove yourself from the faith of the word. All right. It is foolishness. This preaching is foolishness to the world. And so you turn into the world when you look at some things that's foolishness. At one time you believed it. Now you don't believe it because you did so much in-depth study on something. All right. And so I found some error in some of the notes in the Bibles that are this is a spirit-led. I think this is a spirit-led Bible here. Many of you may have that Bible as well. Okay, I did find some error. All right, and I pointed it out, and I explained why I believe it's an error, because it goes against maybe some of the things I found in here, which is the line upon line, precept upon precept. It just didn't line up. And then the Holy Spirit had to awaken in me, says, that is not correct. That is not, I'm not perfect. I don't always nail it, but I will tell you, a person who seems like it's above my pay grade, because I don't have a doctorate in divinity. I don't even have an associate in divinity. It doesn't matter. I do know that the Lord speaks to me, and he has given me the gift of teaching, and I can spot a counterfeit dollar right away. Understand? So when you go to the beginning of the Spirit-led Bibles or some of the study Bibles, you'll see how it lays out the beginnings of the oration, the the description, the authorship, the occasions, and the purpose of the Bible or that book, the characteristics of it, and the contents of it. And he'd also talk about where is Jesus found in it. Okay, that first page leading up to it. Then when you read it, it does mostly give you the right setup. But sometimes I find myself reading things that bothers me inside. Anybody else ever gone through that? Anybody? Replacement theology is grave error. Barbara Taylor, so good to see you here. I love it when you come to these studies. How do we study the Bible? Number 1, prayer. Number 2, observation. Number 3, interpretation. Number 4, evaluation. And 5, application. Come on. I did that study. I did that show on the wall there about how to study the Bible. Thank you, Barbara Taylor. Again, it's so good to see you here. Demetri Pitts, good to see you as well. And here's what your Bible is probably going to say. He talked about the authorship. Solomon's authorship is disputed. All right, I agree with that. But the glory of symbolism is essential to the song. Yes, the glory of Solomon is essential. I will go as far as saying that this Bible is both allegory and literal. Okay, here it is. Understanding it literally is very important. But the conversation between the two persons, they use allegories. They're speaking literal, but they're using poetic licenses to speak to each other. I don't. Maybe you're not understanding what I'm saying. Maybe I'll explain it another way. But Jesus referred twice to Solomon's glory and wisdom as David's royal son. It goes on. Let's see. There was something in here I wanted to mention. Solomon's glory kingdom. Let's see. Solomon is perfectly cast as the personified blessings of covenant love, since he appears in the song with all of his regal perfections. Okay, I'm with you here. But then it goes on to say, what is the purpose of the book? Love is the key word in the song. I agree. This love presenting the passionate desire between a man and woman. I agree. King Solomon and the Shulamite celebrates the joyous potential of marriage in light of sworn covenant principles. I agree. The basis for all human love should be covenant love, the master metaphor of the Bible. And this covenant love is also the basis of the relationship between God and man. And here's where they begin to shift. God and man, therefore the song applies properly to both marriage and to covenant history. The Shulamite therefore personifies the wife in an ideal marriage, and the covenant people and their history in the promised land under the blessings of royal Solomon's love. Solomonic love is what they're calling it. All right. Then they go into trying to focus on Jesus and the church. God in Israel, Christ revealed in the Song of Solomon, as it in other parts of the Bible, the Garden of Eden, the Promised Land, the tabernacle with its Ark of the Covenant, the Temple of Solomon, the new heavens and the new earth are all related to Jesus. So it is not a matter of merely choosing a few verses that prophesy of Christ. The very essence of covenant history and covenant love is reproduced in him. So now they were very careful here. They were extremely careful what they didn't say. A lot of times you have to hear what people don't say. Yeah, degrees in any form of education means nothing without God. Oh, Dava, Lord, have mercy. All right. So here's the thing here. Here's the thing here that I noticed here. Which was pretty good here. This isn't just a collection of songs about a young couple who wants to make passionate love in bed, in the vineyard, under an apple tree, and whatever else they can find a little privacy. It certainly is that, but it's more than that. It's about the enduring the enduring nature of love and the power love has to sustain who? People, even after a mate has died. So in what many Bible experts say is the greatest song in the Song of Songs, the young woman assures her man that the love she has for him will never die. And she asks him to make the same commitment to her. So what do? We overly spiritualized this book. Yes, we did. We over spiritualized the Song of Solomon, especially on my wall when I posed it. It is so spiritual towards many people, and I thought it was very spiritual too. And I was trying to, as a young man, try to find the connection between God and the church, Jesus and the church, even God and Israel. And as I read the book, I'm trying to figure out, I don't understand, where is God? Why would God allow something this it makes you, it's almost shamefaced when you read it in any version. Matter of fact, you have to read in other versions for it to be even more shameful. Okay? The fact that it was canonized in this Bible, why did he allow this to be? Well, again, prior to 1800s, many of the Christians of the time just felt like it couldn't have been literal. So as I began to write about the book, in my book, The Four Women That Men Desire, chapter 7, I'm going to give you a sneak peek into the book for those of you who haven't bought the book, but you want to go to Amazon, because I'm only going to read a portion of it, because what I read in chapter 7 won't make much sense to you fully if you don't read the beginning of the book, as I go into trying to figure out who are these four women on the book, and this woman here who's kissing this man here, her name is Phoebe. She's kissing her man. She is his soulmate. But she transforms into whom I call C7. And I say here, the Shulamite woman is the ideal girl, C7. And as she is perfect in every way, she's the glory of the temple of Solomon. She is the Garden of Eden. She is the promised land. And Solomon is absolutely smitten by her. And she knows how to tap into Solomon by using descriptive or picture language and allegories that cause men's chests to grow. And so she understands that the way to a man's heart is not through his stomach, which is where the food lie, but through his chest, which is where the ego lie. So the Shulamite woman describes Solomon's strength as he describes her beauty. So notice when a man talks to a woman and how a woman talks to a man, the Shulamite woman is describing the strength of the man. If you just listen and or read through it, notice how she describes his bruteness. But when he begins to describe her, notice how he describes her beauty. And when we understand the descriptive parts, or we understand how people communicate, both male and female, we would understand this book a little bit better. And we'll also understand why people are attracted to each other the way they are. Again, I talk about that in the beginning of the book. There's a reason why we talk the way we do and why we attracted the way we are. This book here is absolutely brilliant. It's perfect. It's genius. It needs to be in this book, and it needs to be taken literal as well as allegory, but as it pertains to man and woman. Solomon wasn't calling on the name of God, nor was the Shulamite woman, nor these other women that was around her and him. All right. They wasn't calling on Jesus. They wasn't calling on the Holy Ghost. They were talking to each other, and it was all about a love fest. It's a love fest. For those of you, and I know you wrote your books on it, and I know you're very orthodox in what you think this is, because you've been raised up that way. You've been taught that way, that this is a relationship between Jesus and the church. Well, the relationship in the scriptures, as it pertains to marriage, is a relationship between Jesus and the church, because the word bride is used, and husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church, and all this stuff. But notice the Apostle Paul didn't bring up the Song of Solomon as it pertains to Jesus. Jesus mentioned something in the song. Matter of fact, it talks about foxes. And I did that already. I don't want to repeat myself. So as it pertains to this, I'm going to do that. I'm sorry, because if you keep leaning on the allegory of the relationship between Christ and the church and God and Israel, then you who are married are walking away from the glory, the wonderfulness, the awestruckness of the relationship between a man and a woman and how beautiful sex is when it is legal. How beautiful and magnificent and glorious it is for a man to enter into a woman's body. How glorious it is. It's God's plan that they be fruitful and multiply. It is the plan of God. Through 1 Corinthians chapter 7, Paul talked about, if you can't contain yourself, it's better to marry than to burn with what? With passion. He wasn't talking about burning in hell. He talking about burning with passion. I'm horny and I want to make love to this woman. And he said, well, it's better to just marry her and enjoy whatever you want to and feel free to pull out if you want to and spill your seed on the ground. All that goes against many of my Mormon friends, some of my Jewish friends out there. You say you're breaking the law because look what God did to Onan. He killed them for spilling his seed. And some people think that was masturbation. We have understood the Bible for too many hundreds of years. It means none of that. That's your wife, and whatever you want to do with that seed, that's fine. If you don't want that seed to go to waste, then how's your digestive system? Yeah, I said that because the marriage vow is undefiled. All right. The bed is undefiled. All right. Nobody can come between y'all. What y'all do in the bed is up to y'all. You do all the positions you want to. Do whatever you want to with that semen. It's up to y'all. OK, so when y'all get so holier than thou when it comes to the body, that's where you mess up. And that's why I find a lot of first ladies and missionaries and mothers on the mother's board or what have you having problems with their unsaved husbands at home because the husbands want to do some wild things in the bed and the women they feel they're forbidden to do them because the pastor told them they can't do these moves as if they found something in the scriptures to tell them you can't do doggy style. You only can do missionary and he only have to be on top. You can't be on top. I've heard Bible teachers say if a woman is on top, she is of the devil. So she's lording over. She's telling the man that I'm in charge of the marriage. So she can't ride him. Y'all put the babies to bed. That's why I'm doing this show at 11 o'clock at night because some of y'all can't take this unless y'all gonna watch this tomorrow. Don't let the babies watch this. All right. So the marriage bed, do whatever you want to, and it's up to y'all. It's your thing. Do whatever you want to do. And in the Song of Solomon, if you notice and read it properly, you'll see that they were courting each other at the beginning, and they never really touched each other physically until I'll go in my book. Maybe I'll talk about it here in the book. Okay. The Shulamite woman describes Solomon. If I walk up to a woman and tell her how lovely her breasts are, I would probably be reported for sexual harassment. However, if she and I had been dating for a time and falling in love, I could say the exact same thing and it would cause her to blush. The exact same words. Why? Because it's about relationship. It's about relationship. It's about relationship. Where are we in the relationship? And I tell couples all the time before you get married, y'all better talk about sex. You better talk about sex. You that deep and too holy to talk about sex? I'm sorry, you're going to have a problem. That man may run out on you. You're not giving it to him like he wanted. I'm not saying he need to take it any kind of way. If he's hurting you, then he don't love you because he's supposed to be protecting you even in the bed, even in the marriage bed. He should be protecting you even in sex. All right. So y'all should have an agreement. So if you feel like having oral sex with this man is ungodly, I suggest you talk about it before you get married. You say we shouldn't be talking about this because it can cause this to happen. Then why is the Song of Solomon in there? Have you ever read it? Do you know the average Christian never read the entire book of the Song of Solomon? Because if they did, they wouldn't be asking me these silly questions. The Song of Song began by saying, this is Solomon's Song of Song, more wonderful than any other. And then this young woman says, kiss me and kiss me again. They're not even married yet, and they're talking about kissing. But your parents and the missionaries at the church and the singles group said, y'all shouldn't be talking about that stuff. I get it if you just y'all dating, casual dating, or you just saw each other. But yeah, you shouldn't be talking about this stuff. But these two people right here, I believe, were betrothed to each other. I believe, in a sense, or they were very close all right, to where marriage was right there in their view. Okay, kiss me, kiss me. Her king's fragrance is twice good. She talks about how great his name is, and she admires the fact that other women are attracted to him. Surely this is working on his psyche. It sounds familiar, don't it? And sure it does. It worked back then and it works today. So when Solomon finally responds to her, he had to stop mid-sentence. And he said, "Oh, my beautiful woman, my beautiful woman." Men are moved through what they see, and they must say something about what they see. You understand? If a man is attracted to you, he is going to say something about what he see on your body, on your hair, your face, the color scheme, or he going to say something. And I always say that there's a little boy in all men, and the cunning women know how to tap into little boy junior. Yes. So children will always tell you the truth about yourself because they have no filter. And so she got his attention and spoke to his chest and became his tunnel vision, which caused him to find terms of endearment. You ever had a child to sit on your lap and you talking to this child and your breath is not to its pleasing? That kid have no filter. He gonna say, "Your breath stink." He may not even know you. Okay? There's a little boy in all men. And they're going to get to a point where they're going to say something that you may not like. Keep the pastor and everybody else out of the marriage bedroom. It's none of their business. Robert Taylor, come on, come on, come on, come on. All right. So he became drunk with comparitis. Solomon, he became drunk with comparitis, found the most admired and revered objects in the kingdom and surrounding territories to compare her to Pharaoh's chariots or Pharaoh's stallions. I talk about the De Beer Company in the book here. They had they coined the phrase "diamonds are a girl's best friend." It was an ingenious promotion because it made millions by causing both men and women to anchor diamonds with love and marriage. Yet this is not new. Solomon said that her neck was enhanced by a string of jewels and that he was going to make her some earrings made of gold and beads of silver. You understand what I'm saying? Compare. But to compare these natural resources, all right, with that which is so precious to a woman, he promises her the things that he knows that she like, and she's going to do the thing in return. So he says, "You remind me of Pharaoh's chariots," and it's the same aspect of the R. Kelly song that says, "You remind me of my Jeep." I know saying his name kind of makes some of y'all uncomfortable, but nevertheless, the song says, "You remind me of my Jeep." And he talk about in the Jeep how he loves his Jeep, but he also loves you, and he can't describe you with anything else other than his love for his inanimate object, that Jeep. Men are in love with their Jeep. All right. They won't even take out the garbage. They won't buy you this. They won't feed the family before they feed the Jeep. They gonna make sure it's full of gas. They gonna make sure the oil is changed. They gonna make sure the tires are rotated. They gonna make sure they clean that Jeep at least once, twice, 3 times, 4 times a week. Okay, and the home sometimes is left to its devices. All right. So I talk about Tyler Perry's movie Temptation. I'm not gonna go into that right now. As the first chapter of Song of Songs concludes, Solomon does the thing men always do. He went back to what? The eyes. I often tell couples that men are fascinated with women's eyes. And the women who know this spend precious time beautifying them with color contacts and groomed lashes and brows. Notice what Solomon says in verse 15. "How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful your eyes are like doves." There are 2 parts on a woman's body that men are very, very much attracted to. One, his favorite part is the legs. A man is attracted to your legs, ladies. Y'all be trying to hide your legs. Maybe you hide it because you know men are attracted to it. But them legs, I don't care how short you are, how tall you are, how fat you are. It don't matter. He going for those legs when you walk away. Is he looking at me? Yeah. In that movie. Okay. But that second part is the eyes. That window to the soul. Even in pornography, when a man is watching videos, he's focused on the eyes. That's why they tell the actress to make sure she looks at him when she's performing sexual acts on him. Look at the man. Look at him in the eye. Because when men watching this nasty stuff, men are looking at you. Look at her. They know. It's the whole science of it all. There was a study. Oh, I just mentioned that. Okay. The woman of the night uses their eyes to lure their bait. And Solomon said something that sealed the deal with her. He wined and dined, did the mating call or the dance, and won her attention. So now when she speaks, she was almost left speechless. The Shulamite woman responds in the way a woman who is a nurturer and builder would respond. She wanted him to herself for the long haul. Here's what she says. You are so handsome, my love, pleasing beyond words. And the soft grass is our bed. Fragrant cedar branches are the beams of our house. And pleasant smelling fruits are the rafters. Yea, he got her because you don't talk like this to a man on the first date. Notice the description of the home now. Later in this romantic book, you see them touching and embracing before marriage. That's why they don't want you to read this literally. That's why it's an allegory to many of them for the past couple hundred years, because they don't want you to recognize the truth. They were physical with each other before marriage. However, there was no intercourse. Understand? Although these two were quite impressive about their physical desires for one another, she gave a charge 4 times with variations by saying, not to awake love until the time is right. Understand? If they would just teach this part, because a lot of times they don't know this part is even there. So if they would teach this part, then they should give the green light to teach the Song of Solomon to young people. All right. She says it a few times. Verses, it's a lot of them. That this unauthorized love should not be stirred up too soon. Don't stir it up. True love comes with self-control and abstinence. And once girl C7 relays this message through her words and actions, a good man who falls in love with her will remain patient. He'll remain patient. Many of us messed up. Oh, trust me. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're sure. I'm sure. All right. What are you saying here? Here's another great reference. Okay, go ahead, man. Jermaine Felton is putting it there. She already expressed to him all that she wants. She painted a good picture in his mind, and now he's willing to move heaven and move earth to taste her royal dainties someday. And men are depicted as being wild and should have the right to roam free. Oh, get it. Men should be able to, they are already wild and they should have the right to roam free, giving in to their created nature, which is beautifully brought out in the comparison phrase, and here it is, by the gazelle and wild deer. All right, that's in chapter 2 and 7. These animals, as majestic as they are, were never meant to be tamed. They belong in the wild, free to explore. Ladies, never turn your man into a tamed horse, or they call breaking the horse. They got wild horses out there, and these farmers, these cowboys, they break them. And then once they break them, these horses, they just go around in a circle. That's not what you should be doing to men. You don't break them. In your marriage, they should be free to be roaming wild, because that's what you were attracted to. Notice how the average woman is attracted to wild men. these hardcore thugs. They're attracted to them. And then when they get them, then they try to break them. I don't understand that thing. And then their marriage is boring. And then they wonder why he's not doing this. You're not like you used to be because you broke him. All right. So once the marriage bed is prepared and the vows are made, it's supper time, and open the gates and call for her lion, her tiger, and her bear. Oh my. These last words from the Shulamite woman shouldn't leave anything to imagination whatsoever. Here's what she said. Awake, north wind. Rise up, south wind. Blow on my garden and spread its fragrance all around. Come into your garden, my love, taste its finest fruit. Chapter 4 and 16. It leaves nothing to your imagination. What a novel concept. Come on, Joe Hill. Yes, this was downright dirty. They was doing the nasty. They was knocking boots, y'all. They put on some Luther to the Vandross and Anita and her Bakers, and they did whatever they wanted to. It's free. And she made sure that he ran. You be calling wildfire. All right. Wildfire. Who is that, y'all? Is that Glenn Campbell? I don't know. He's a Wichita lineman. So a girl, C7, was groomed from birth to exemplify the fruit of the Spirit. She's genuine, organic, and pure. To her, all things are pure. Titus 1:15. She never tries to emulate other women. They envy her. This woman here is envied by the women around her and Solomon. They envy her. They envy the love between them, the way they talk. Oh, man. I said here, when I was married, I remember being on my laptop and some old porn videos popped up that I forgot that was on the laptop. And I had lost my interest in porn by this time. And while trying to clean out my system, I fell asleep with the video on pause. I was awakened by my wife, and boy, did she let me have it. I assured her that I was only cleaning out my old life and that porn didn't excite me anymore. Well, one night during sex, my wife turned into a porn star. She was saying things I had never heard her say, and she wanted to try moves I knew she didn't even like. Because it wasn't natural to me, I was turned off by it and couldn't perform. It occurred to me that my sweet wife was trying to give me the pleasure she thought I was getting by watching pornography. She didn't want to lose me to a woman I would never meet. What she failed to realize, though, was that I wasn't into role playing. Roles are temporary, and eventually you are going to have to put your street clothes back on and put your toys away. Knowing this was a sensitive matter, I explained to her that I just simply wanted my wife back. I didn't require all that hardcore stuff. You got to know your mate. Know them that labor among you. Treat your spouse according to knowledge, as the scripture says. So you can't be using your past relationship with men, ladies, and try that on the new brother in your life. It may not work. He may not want that. And brothers, the same way. Your wild life, you may find a woman that's a little more reserved, a little more introverted, even in the bed, and you just have to protect her and make sure that y'all had this conversation before y'all get married. When? Before you get married. Y'all serious and y'all falling in love, it's time to talk about this stuff. When a man wants you to be somebody else, you are not his C7. And the lady in the streets and the freak in the sheets never really die. It doesn't always need priming and pumping and prepping, okay? C7, she is always ready. She rocks his world before he even asks. She makes puckered lip sounds, and he wags his little tail. That little boy, he just wagging his tail. And she says, heel. And he sits while he's panting. And she rubs his head. Yeah, both of them. And he's out like a light. Sure, he's still the head of the house, but she's the neck that turns it. And he enjoys being toyed with in this manner, and he feels you are paying attention to him. The little boy effect is what I'm calling it. So why do you think men come up with these sayings? I'll lasso the moon for you. I talked about one episode of All in the Family. You buy the book, because I go there. Okay, and then I go into the Proverbs 31 woman. The Proverbs 31 woman, may have to do that tomorrow. Or not. Get the book, The 4 Women That Men Desire. You in here. Trust me on that. All right? So I'm going to close it down by saying the Song of Solomon is a literal book. It's a love between Solomon and this Shulamite woman. It's a love between a man and woman. Before they got married, they fell in love with what they saw on the outward appearance. He liked her breast, her neck, her lips, all kind of things, and she liked his muscles, maybe his hair. All right, she liked what she saw in the surrounding. They was tiptoeing through the tulips. It was a wonderful surrounding here. Okay, and the setting, and the reason why people think this is Solomon talking about God and Israel is because of the setting. Okay, because of the description of where they were and how Solomon says Israel. The location, the lovers mention many locations in Israel, such as Jerusalem, the coastal plains of Sharon, and Mount Hermon. All right, and there was a certain, even apples was not found everywhere. If you had an apple, it was like salt. The salt was a salary. That's what salt is. And the Roman soldiers was paid by salt. Salt was money. That's what the word salary comes from. Salt. All right. And so certain things that we take for granted today, that was very precious to them back then. So apples were precious. Salt was money. All right. It was salary. OK, it was revenue. All right. So this is literal. They both loved each other, and they got horny sometimes. And when he got a little too close and too much, a little heavy petting, she says, it's not time yet. She said it several times. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. And then they got engaged and they got married, and they tore it up. They tapped. And it was healthy, and God just smiled down on them and said, hey, y'all can do that again tomorrow if you like to. Sure can. All right. So those of you who got a little overly spiritual over this whole thing, stop it. Cut that out. Cut that out. Now, this won't change your mind. I know it won't. Those of you who are scholars out there, this show won't change you. I know. I brought up some things because I want the people to understand that I wish we would stop being so overly spiritual. We're so heavenly minded, but we're no earthly good. These relationships are dying and falling apart. People are leaving each other. They are dividing. They're separating, and they're divorcing. And the number one reason for divorce is not infidelity, and it's not for money. It's because people are bored with each other. Now, some of y'all says that's not true. Well, I want you to do a little more study on it and tell me what is the statistics between the two. We think it's number one is money. We always say that, and then we say infidelity. But the number one reason for separation in marriages or relationships today is boredom. The spark has left. So why don't y'all tonight, since it's late, go to the Song of Songs. Go to this wonderful canticle. Put on some nice romantic music. I did a midnight melody last night from Ennio Morricone. All right, I played some beautiful music from them tonight. Why don't you play? Go ahead. Now I don't play mine because I did some talking in that. But put on Ennio, all right, and listen to some of his beautiful music. I played this song last night. What is it? Can you see me? Ain't that beautiful? Yeah, put that on tonight and just make love to each other and let God honor it. And wake up in each other's arms in the morning and watch, because all kind of other little physical things going on. I'm going to talk about the psychology of love. This coming week, I'm going to talk about the psychology of love and why is it that men are so overwhelmed and overtaken by you, young ladies, and why is it that he acts a certain way when you leave him. Why men are passionate, crimes of passion, things that happen because of the psychology of love. We'll talk about some of the neurotransmitters and why it do what it do and why men act the way they do. All right. So I'm going to dedicate my time to doing that because I'm actually filming a class on the Men's Chronicles. I'm filming a class on the Men's Chronicles for those of you who out there who are some of my partners in the ministry. I have a class that I'm going to be doing. And so you can get a full understanding of why men act the way they do. I'm done. Hey, y'all, hit the share button if you please. Be kind and rewind and share this with your friends, your husband, your wife, or your boyfriend or girlfriend. Or share it with your daughters and sons and give them the proper interpretation of the Song of Songs. It may help them. It may teach them a lesson on the natural things of life. And yeah, thank God for the spiritual, because we should walk after the spirit, not after the flesh. That's fine. But if we totally walk after the spirit in marriages, we in trouble. We in trouble because she needs that attention. She needs to be touched. And brothers, you stop touching her. So that's why I started doing my romance in the park. Y'all stop having sex. As a matter of fact, y'all don't even kiss anymore. There are things happen in the brain when two people kiss. Use your tongue and the saliva and all kind of things. It's healthy. The doctors, the science industries are trying to tell y'all it's even healthy to kiss. It's healthy to hold hands, and y'all stop doing that, to tickle each other's toes up under the dinner table, all right? Flirting with each other and having an open affection. I'm not talking about that nasty stuff and boy, I don't want to see y'all busting slob. I'm not that, but there's some subtlety that y'all can do openly. In front of people, that when people are inspired by that, oh, look at that, and they're inspired, and they may want to do that as well. All right, so y'all stop kissing each other. You just stop. And that connection to the kiss is what's missing. You don't even realize that the house is falling apart because you stopped kissing each other and not realizing that the kissing caused an attachment to happen. And then we go into the psychological stuff that we'll talk about next time. All right, trying to help y'all. If y'all had just listened to this show before you filed for divorce, okay, now you know there is some folks not liking the source of truth. I know. You know you are going to be called on this one. Yeah. It's past time. People need to know how to conduct themselves, period. Yeah, that's right, Thompson. I'm always called. I had an indictment. I put the church on trial a couple of days ago, and people got mad at me. I had preachers hitting me up, but you know, I don't fight with people. It doesn't matter. I want people to try and test this, and then prove me wrong on this. Prove me wrong. Well, here's the thing: we don't really know who wrote the book of Song of Songs. Number one. Number two, we don't really know. Notice, I was not emphatically saying this is what it is. I'm telling you, we don't even really know why the book is in there as and we know why it's in there. Number one, it's about man and a woman, but we don't know if God also intended for us to find a correlation between God and Israel and Jesus in the church, other than Jesus wanting the church to know that men should be in love physically or attracted to a woman and vice versa. So in that case, yes. What's the correlation between Jesus and the church? Jesus wants you to read this book to each other so that y'all can be physically attracted to each other. And he sits back and allow you to take that time and love. How do I know? Man, see, gosh. I wanted to be gone by this time, y'all. I'm sorry. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. All right. The Apostle Paul brings it up. I know y'all don't like him. I know, especially you anyway. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Therefore, wherefore, let me see, where am I at? I want to get down to let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife have no power of her own body but the husband, and likewise also the husband have no power of his own but the wife. Defraud ye not one another, except it be consent for time, that ye may give yourself to fasting and prayer and come together again. Now notice this. Chapter 7 opens up with y'all should be touching each other if you belong to each other. If you're married, go ahead and have your way. He didn't say fast and pray yet. He didn't say seek God and tarry on the altar for the Holy Ghost. He didn't say none of that stuff. He said get yours, get yours, get yours, get yours. And then if you want to spend some time with God, then he says, get permission from your spouse. Ask for permission. Now, if the husband said you can't fast, guess what? You can't fast. If the wife said you can't fast, not right now, you can't fast. No, because that body is mine. My body's yours. Get permission. Y'all, it's consensual. All right. And then says, all right, if I give you permission, then go ahead and fast, but only do it for a short period of time because I'm horny. And I'm giving way to satanic devices. I may not be strong enough to take it. So go ahead. So some of you ladies who spend all your time at church and your unsaved husband is at home, you're spending all your time giving to the church and to the choir and to the pastor's aid and all that stuff. And the man at home, he's like, man, this church is taking my wife from me. That's why some of these men go up to the church and beat up on the pastor. Okay, because the ladies don't know their role. Your role belongs to the husband, not to the church. So Paul brought it out. But then he mentioned the unmarried. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment. Okay, you know what? I got to do another study on this one. I'm going to have to. Here's what I want to get to. He says, this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remains that both they that have wives be as though they had none. And they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not. He says, but I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please God. If you're single, then you take care of the Lord. You wake up in the morning and think about God. Y'all always say Jesus is your husband. And Jesus is like, man, good Lord, boy, all these women down here. All right. Y'all take care of the things of the Lord. You can fast all you want to. You got to ask nobody for permission. You can leave town whenever you want to. You can stay up like I do 2 and 3 in the morning. I ain't got to ask no woman for no permission to do nothing. Ooh, it's a good life to live. It's just me and God if you're single. But what's what he said next? He said, but he that is married care for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. God ain't even mentioned here. There is a difference, he says, also between a wife and his virgin, and that's another story. He says, God put you together in the holy matrimony. So he know y'all first. Home, y'all take care of first. Each other first. Don't worry, I'm going to be here. But God, I love you. No, I know you love me, but your husband needs you. You trying to do church work, and you call it church work God's work. My work is for you to be at home with your husband. You should be home with your wife. Why you out there at the bar all night? You at the club all night. You with your boys all night. You don't want to go home at night. Man, take your behind home and take care. You pastors who stay at the pastor's study, you stay at the church. You do all these revivals at church and your wife is at home. All right, you need the elders, you ministers. Get your behind home and take care of the wife of your youth, especially you young ones, all right? God understands. He said, listen, I'm going to step back and let you do what you do. I'll put y'all together. Y'all tend to each other. That's what the scripture said. If you're single, I get it. You spending a lot of time with me. I love this communion with you. But now that y'all married, God says, I'm going to step back and let y'all do this. Do it, because you honoring me. This bed is undefiled. Go ahead. You honoring me. You praising me. This is a praise report. All right, go ahead, put Luther on. I'll agree with it. Do it. But y'all are too holy. You're too holy. You're too holy. You're too holy. And you're so holy that your house is breaking up. Breaking up. My mom teaches women about this all the time. Your mom is brilliant. Thompson says just love, love, love it. Knowledge is lacking. It is the reason for the lack of relationships. God knew he could trust you to provide right guidance to his people. Many are called, but few are chosen. Ooh, come on, Thompson. You're blessing my soul right now. You're blessing my socks off, all right? So I know I got a little extended in this, but it's so vital. It's so important. I got so many books here on love and compassion. More so love, and physical love, and the love between a man and a woman. I got a whole lot of relationship books here. Why? Because it's missing. It's missing. It's missing. Y'all would rather go to the bookstores and Amazon and all these other stores where they close down a lot of these stores. So y'all go to Amazon.com for all these relationship, looking for love, looking for love, looking for love. Y'all even buy my book, which thank God that I'm glad you're doing that. But and then you can't have enough books. But here is the book of books on relationship. You can't really go to the Bible for dating advice, really, okay? Because I don't suggest everybody go here and find dating advice, because you shouldn't be talking about when you just meet each other. Y'all shouldn't be talking about all this sexual stuff, okay? These two are in love with each other, and they probably known each other for a long enough of a time where they realize they're going to be married. All right. So if y'all are casually dating right now, what have you, you only known each other for a few weeks or so, what have you. No, you shouldn't be talking about that stuff right now. You talk about other stuff. All right. But other than that, y'all looking for all these books around the world. And here is the Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, and you won't even read it. And you won't even ask your pastor about it. And he don't want. And then when you do ask him, he leads you another way. Say, well, it's a relationship between God and the church. It's okay. You don't have to read that. That's sad. It's a. That's why I put the church I put y'all in the court. I put y'all in the court. Because it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Learn your body and learn his body, her body. Learn y'all's relationship with each other. Learn it. Learn it. You might have you forgotten. Well, I think many of you never learned it. There are things that this man like for you to do, but he can't tell you. He's afraid to tell you because you're so holy. There's some parts of his body that you touch. He don't know how to tell you that because you think it's gay. You think he's a punk. Or you think he's emasculated or what have you, because he there's some parts on his body. I can't even say it. Pots and parts. There's parts on his body that he wants you to touch, but he don't know how to tell you because you're too holy. He don't know if you're going to say, oh, I don't want to do that. And let him express himself to you. And ladies, do the same thing. Tell your man, tell him, I want you to do this. And if he don't like it, then that's fine. He don't like it. You can't force a man to do something he don't like. And man, tell him, tell her, I really don't like to do that. I don't like it. Okay, that's fine. If you cook a meal for him and you've cooked, God knows how many meals for him, there's some meals he don't like. He may not like greens. He'll tell you, I don't like greens, baby. I'm sorry. I should have told you that. And guess what? Greens will never hit that house again. Well, the marriage vow, or the bed, that is, it's the same thing. It's the same way. If you tell him to touch this part, whether it's with your hand or with your tongue, he tell you, I don't like it, then you don't bring that up no more. Brothers, it's the same way. You don't bring it up. If she don't like it, you don't bring it up no more. Now, unless she says, I don't really like it, but maybe you can help me like it. Ooh. Now that's a C7 move right there. That girl right there, she's a keeper. Mm-hmm. Yes, she is. Okay. If she tell you I don't like it, I don't really like it, because really, a lot of times if a woman don't like a sexual move, it's because she tried it with someone else and her experience with someone else was bad and toxic. Okay, there might have been a molestation, there might have been a rape, it could be anything. So you have to be gentle with her and say, oh, you don't like it? Okay, would you like to try it? And if she loves you that much, she might say, you know what, okay, I'll try it. And then you have to teach her that it's okay. And I've heard people say it, because I've experienced it, that thing that I didn't like at first, I began to like it. Then it became my favorite move in marriage. It became my favorite sexual move because I had a bad experience with someone else. And then when the wife tried it, ooh, now that's my favorite move. I went from hating it to loving it. All right. So it's all about communication. And that's what sex is. It's really psyche. It's a psychology of the mind. And y'all stop this. You stopped it. All right. So I want to strengthen your relationship because there's too many of us are breaking up Break up to make up, that's all we do. All right? Do it, do it, do it, do it. Yes, do it till you're satisfied. Do it. Do it. All right, I'm gonna have to go into my little midnight melodies, because I got a lot of songs that I can play right now that will help get y'all up to the grind. Yeah, I said it. Help you get up to the grind and grind. All right, and watch the next day how she's tiptoeing and he all happy. Hey, baby, hey, what you want today? Diamonds are a girl's best friend. I'm going down there. Every kiss begins with cake. Okay, she cooking him breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and he going out there and he's lassoing the moon, and he's talking all with using cute terms of endearment and all kind of stuff, and he's taking out the garbage while her telling him to do it, and he's taking her clothes to the cleaners, and he's washing her car, all kinds of stuff. Why? Because the night before, let's get it on. Okay, that's what happened the night before, and that worked on the man's psyche, because he ain't had it in a while. Y'all only do it once a month, if that much. The average marriage only do it once a month, maybe once every 2 months. The average marriage today. That's too far. That's too much. That's going into starvation. Y'all should go and get some governmental help or something. Y'all need some assistance or something. Y'all need to get on sexual public aid or something. I don't know, because that's poverty. That's sexual poverty. That doesn't make any sense. And then you wonder why you all stressed out. You come home angry. You're fighting, what have you, because you have not come together with each other and realize that you're no more twain, but you one. You're one flesh. And you're not it's like you're not brushing your teeth. Why would you wake up and not take a shower and take care of your own body? All right? So that's what you're doing when you're not having sex with each other in marriage, is that you're not brushing your teeth. Your breath stink. All right? You're not washing your hair. You're not putting deodorant on. When you're not having sex with each other, you're not taking care of your body. It's a healthy part of waking up. The best part of waking up is sex in your cup. Okay, I gotta go, y'all. All right. Hit the share button again. I must be Pentecostal, because I closed at least 4 times. Yeah. Let's talk tomorrow. All right. Hey, if you ain't got the book, get it. And you think I just said something today? What's in this book may help you. The 4 Women That Men Desire. Volume 2 is coming out real soon. I'm talking days from now. And Volume 2 is not for you deep saints. No. We talk about a woman named Bella. That's this Bella right here. This Bella. That's the side chick. She got her own book coming out in a few days. Volume 2. Bella. I'm sorry, Lola. That's Bella. Lola nasty. But she got your man. I wonder why. I wonder how. Hey, Alexa, say goodnight to the people.
Good night. Hope you had a great day.
5 closings. Peace.